Welcome to our deep dive,
Yeah.
into the psychology of money. This one's by Morgan Housel, and we're going to kind of explore this whole idea of, financial psychology, or like why knowing how to manage money isn't always enough to actually like be good at it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's really the heart of Housel's argument, right? Like getting rich and staying rich, it's not just about the numbers, it's about understanding yourself.
I see. So like, how do we even begin to like understand that part of it? Like, where do we start?
Well, he uses this term money scripts, right?
Yeah,
Have you heard of that before?
I haven't.
So think of it kind of like your personal blueprint for money. Like it's based on everything you've seen, experienced, learned about money like your whole life.
Okay.
So say you grow up and your parents are always stressing about bills.
Yeah.
That might make you way more cautious with spending, even if right now you have a decent income.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you could be like a total like financial whiz, like on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but your own personal money script could still like trip you up.
Oh yeah, all the time. Like Housel, he actually has this story in the book about this tech executive, right? And the guy's brilliant. Like he made a fortune off of this Wi-Fi patent, but he was constantly carrying around wads of cash, flashing his wealth and just making really not so smart decisions with his money.
So interesting.
Yeah.
It's so wild, like how much our background, like how much it can affect, like how we are with money.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things people don't always think about,
Yeah.
it's a key insight. And it kind of leads into Housel's first big lesson. It's not what you know about money, it's how you behave with it that really, really matters.
Okay, I like that.
And to illustrate that, he tells this story about this guy named Ronald Reed.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
I haven't. No.
So picture this. Ronald Reed was a janitor and a gas station attendant, just a regular guy you know. But when he died at 92, it's discovered that he had an $8 million fortune.
Wait. Hold on. A janitor. $8 million. That's got to be like a lottery win or something, right? Like an inheritance.
Nope. No lucky breaks, no inheritance. Ronald's secret was basically the power of compounding. He just invested steadily in really solid companies for decades. He got that time, not brilliance is the biggest factor in building wealth.
See, this is where I start to get like anxious because
Uh-huh.
it makes me feel like I should have started investing like years ago.
And that's a totally normal reaction. And that anxiety is exactly what Housel wants us to kind of confront because it's never too late to start and you don't need to be some Wall Street genius. Even small, consistent investments can grow huge over time.
Okay, so can you give me like an example of this like compounding magic at work?
Yeah, for sure. So Housel, he points out that if you saved just $1 each month from 1900 to 2019 and you just invested it in the stock market,
Hmm?
you'd have a pretty sizable chunk of change today.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right?
Yeah,
It really highlights the power of playing the long game.
totally.
And it brings us to another one of Housel's favorite examples, Warren Buffett.
Okay.
Because, there's this misconception that Buffett's success is all about his genius for picking stocks. But what's really mind-blowing is that he made most of his money after he turned 50.
So it's not just about like picking the right investments, but like letting them grow over time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Housel, he did this little thought experiment and wild. He calculated that if Buffett had retired at 60, his wealth would be 99.9% less than what it is now.
That's incredible.
I know.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. The real key is starting early and letting those returns compound.
Exactly. But there's this other piece of the puzzle that so many of us really struggle with. It feels like we're always, chasing that next milestone,
Mhm.
the next raise, the next zero in the bank account. When is it enough already?
Yeah, you've hit on it. Like one of the biggest mental hurdles with money is like knowing when to stop, right?
Right.
Housel calls this like the moving goalpost problem.
Okay.
Like we reach a certain level of success, but then we just look around and suddenly it's like, oh, it's not enough anymore.
It's you get the bigger house because you get the bigger salary. And then you're like, wait, I was happier in my smaller house.
Exactly. It's like the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing,
Yeah.
Especially now with social media where everyone's always showing off like the best parts of their lives.
Right.
It's like this constant comparison trap.
Totally.
And it can make you feel like you always need more, even if it means you're like less happy or content.
Yeah. So how do we break free of that? How do we figure out what enough actually means?
Well, he uses some pretty like intense examples to show this.
Like the stories of Rajat Gupta and Bernie Madoff.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of those?
I have, yeah.
So both those guys, they achieved incredible financial success, right?
Yeah.
But they just couldn't resist wanting more.
It's crazy to think about, like, Gupta. He was like a top executive at McKinsey
Right.
and then got convicted for insider trading.
Yeah, and Madoff, like, come on, the biggest Ponzi scheme in history.
Billions of dollars just gone.
It's wild, right? Like, they had more money than they could ever spend, but they still risked it all for, like, just a little bit more.
Yeah, those are some, like, serious cautionary tales.
Totally. Like, they highlight the danger of letting greed and ambition, like, completely take over.
Right. It's a good reminder that true wealth isn't just about your bank account balance.
Right.
It's about, like, aligning your money with what you actually care about
Totally.
and finding a way to feel content without always needing to chase more.
Exactly. Like, contentment often comes from defining your own version of enough. Like, something that's not based on, comparing yourself to other people or what you think you should have.
That's where I think so many of us get tripped up, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in, like, what we should be doing or buying.
Right.
Like the house we should have or the car or the vacations.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of what actually matters to us.
Right. Housel really wants us to look at all those shoulds and ask ourselves, like, are these really my goals or are they someone else's,
Yeah.
He says true wealth is about having the freedom to live a life that matches your own values and priorities.
So, like, maybe that means choosing to work less, even if you make less money, so you have more time with your family.
Right. Or maybe it means pursuing like a passion project, even if it's not going to make you a ton of money.
Yeah.
It's about figuring out what matters to you.
Totally. And money is like a tool to help you get there.
Exactly. Money is a tool. It's not the end goal itself.
Right.
Like Housel says, the most valuable thing about money is that it can give you control over your time.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
It's not about how much money you have. It's about how much freedom and flexibility it gives you.
For sure. Yeah.
And that can mean, spending less now so you have more freedom later.
Okay.
Like if you're saving for early retirement or financial independence or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not just about the future. It's about finding ways to have that freedom and flexibility in your life, like right now.
I see.
So maybe it's taking that dream vacation or starting that side hustle you've always thought about,
Yeah.
or even just setting aside more time to be with people you love.
I'm starting to feel inspired to, like, rethink my priorities.
That's great to hear. And remember, this isn't about like depriving yourself. It's
No.
about having more control.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that you can use money to create a life you actually love.
I like that a lot. On your own terms.
On your own terms, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about, behavior versus knowledge and the power of compounding and figuring out, like, what's enough.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that Housel talks about that we should keep in mind when it comes to, like, navigating this whole world of money?
Well, he also talks about, we have to pay attention to the narratives,
Okay.
the stories that kind of shape how we think about money.
Like, what do you mean by, like, narratives?
Well, like, think about it. We're always hearing all these messages about, what it means to be successful with money.
Yeah,
right?
like those rags to riches stories.
Exactly. Or like, those scary headlines that make you question all your investments.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And those narratives, they can be super powerful
Yeah,
because they tap into our emotions,
I see.
and that can affect our decisions even more than like actual facts and data.
Okay, so how can we, like, be more aware of these narratives and not let them, like, lead us astray?
Well, the first thing is just like realizing they're there.
Okay.
Like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like think about the 2008 financial crisis.
Okay.
Remember, like before that happened, everyone was saying housing prices could only go up.
Oh, yeah. Everyone was buying houses, like, flipping them, making a ton of money.
Right. And because so many people believed that story, they took on way too much risk.
Right. They thought it was a sure thing.
Exactly. And they didn't even really understand like what could happen if it all went wrong.
And then it did. And it was like a huge mess.
Yeah, like it affected tons of people and the whole global economy.
It's crazy how much those stories can shape what we do.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do we become, like, smarter about it?
It's all about like questioning things,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like look for actual evidence and be careful about anyone who says they have all the answers.
Especially when it comes to, like, financial advice.
Oh, yeah. There's so much of that out there and everyone's got an angle.
Totally.
That's why it's so important to like learn about this stuff yourself.
Yeah.
Like understand the basics and be able to think critically about what you're hearing.
So it's not about just blindly following whoever's popular or trendy.
Right. You got to understand the why behind your
I
choices.
see.
And that's kind of like Housel's big takeaway in the book.
Okay.
Like the whole point of the psychology of money is that it's all about the long game.
Oh,
Building real wealth and a life you actually enjoy. It takes time, patience, resilience.
so no get-rich-quick schemes,
Haha. No, those almost never work out.
right?
Remember compounding.
Yeah.
Like it takes time for those small, consistent actions to add up to something big.
But like, I feel like patience is so hard, especially these days when everything's so fast-paced.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, we want results right now.
I know Housel gets that, but he wants us to like shift our thinking.
Okay.
Like think of it as a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, I like that.
There are going to be ups and downs and unexpected things that happen.
Right. It's not always going to be easy.
Yeah, but if you just keep going, if you're consistent and disciplined over time, you'll get where you want to be.
This has been such a great conversation. I feel like I've learned so much.
Maybe.
So like, just to recap, the psychology of money is all about realizing that managing money isn't just about math. It's about understanding yourself and all the like hidden things that can affect your decisions.
Totally, like recognizing that we all have emotions and our past experiences and the stories we tell ourselves, they all play a part.
And true wealth isn't just about having a ton of money. It's about using it to build a life you love.
Yeah, a life that gives you freedom and purpose and joy.
Exactly. One that lets you spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Exactly.
Wow. I feel like we should all like print that out and put it on our fridges.
Nah, I know, right?
All right, listeners. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of money.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And remember, be kind to yourself. Embrace that long game and keep those financial goalposts in check.